Get ready for 2 hours of hard-hitting football talk, straight from their jocks about the jocks. It's Football on the Know with Jim and Joe.
What they say, it's not the X's and the O's, it's the Jimmies and the Joes.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Football on the Know. I am Jim McPhee, and right there is Mr. Joe DeCapita.
What's going on, know-it-alls? Welcome back for another football edition here to be talking some football, talking some coaching moves, talking some playoffs. You know what time it is. Let's go. Bring it in.
Yeah, absolutely, Joe. Some new developments has happened since we were on last week. Wouldn't you know, it's just like right after the following weekend, and we were looking out past wild card weekend to see what John Harbaugh was going to do, and lo and behold, Mike Tomlin now resigns as the head coach after 19 years with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Highly respected and successful coach, broke a lot of different records there for coaches. And now let's see what's next on the docket for him and where he might potentially land if he decides to coach. But there is a little bit of a stipulation with that whole situation that no one's really even talking about right now with that. But we talked about the carousel a little bit last week and kind of potential things and that, and more about Harbaugh and what's going on. But this week we can actually kind of give our views, and you guys let us know in your views what you think some of these coaches, if they should coach somewhere else, where should it be? If they should actually kind of, get back in their lane, go back and be a defensive coordinator, or, become, an offensive coordinator again with some of these guys, and then retry it a little bit later. You're kind of seeing that this year where Robert Saleh, former head coach of the New York Jets, now getting interviews too, or at least requests. And just as, 1 year or so removed, from there and being a defensive coordinator, what he's done with San Francisco 49ers again. Brian Flores, another one. So you can rejuvenate your career after not being very successful as a head coach. And that's what I think some of these coaches could potentially do, Joe.
Yeah, and that's the thing is this head coaching cycle has turned into from not really much talent out there to hire and see what you can do going forward. But also now we're seeing guys that have either been fired because of not making the playoffs or one and done in the playoffs. And then there's even, like you mentioned, Mike Tomlin, who just basically decided to step down, where he probably had a good conversation with the owner with Pittsburgh Steelers and let them know ahead of time, like, hey, listen, it's been 19 great years here in Pittsburgh, but I think I need to take a break. I think it's time. And he could also get the sense from the ownership in the front office that there was a lot of not animosity, but there was a lot of like strain on and aggravation of not getting past the first round since they haven't won a playoff game since 2016. And when you keep going around and around, like you make the playoffs, it's great and all. You have a winning record, that's great and all. But what's the main goal here in the NFL? To win to win championships. It's not to make the playoffs, and that's a huge success. It's you got to get further than what they've been able to do in recent years. So Mike Tomlin could get a sense of that. He knew that the writing was on the wall, so to speak, and I don't think Pittsburgh was going to fire him by any means. I think that they would have been more than happy to have him back for next season. But I think with both sides being uncertain about what the other side is thinking, Mike Tomlin kind of just came down to him, but like, you know what? Maybe it's just that time. It's time to take a break. It's time to reset the franchise that is the Pittsburgh Steelers. They can reset because half of those fans, Steeler fans, are absolutely upset that Tomlin was still their head coach. They were ready to move on. Not the majority, maybe half and half. But it seemed like things were going in that direction. Eventually, it was going to happen. They were going to part ways. So Tomlin rips off the Band-Aid, says, I'm out. I'm going to at least take a season off. It sounds like he's going to literally do that, take a break. I know if he wanted to coach, there'd be 9 teams looking for him, 8 teams looking for him, right? Like saying,
Mhm.
"Hey, we want him." Here's the difference though. He's not in the same situation that these other head coaches that are available are. Mike Tomlin is still technically under contract and through the 26 season. By by still being on the under the contract for the 26 season, he can't just go to another team and sign and be their head coach for next season. Because of the contractual agreement, even into 26, because the contract isn't expired and he stepped down, Steelers didn't fire him. That means that Mike Tomlin would have to be traded this offseason in order to coach somebody for the 26 season. So that's something that I feel like not a lot of people out there in the media has brought up, that there is a stipulation with this to go after Mike Tomlin. You have to basically agree on a trade compensation of some sort. And that means draft picks, could mean some money. It's we've seen examples of that in the past where Sean Payton comes to mind where he had to be traded. The Saints, he was still
Mhm.
under contract, but they were already moving on from him. Denver came calling, said, "Hey, what do you want?" Well, they gave up a first, second, and a future third round pick just to get Sean Payton to be their head coach. So Tom is in a similar boat. However, if he wants to just take a break, maybe do something with TV or something for one season and then come back in 27, by that time, his contract will expire, and then he will be free to choose his spot instead of worrying about
Yeah.
where am I getting traded to.
Yeah, that might be the most likely scenario and situation too, because from what you're hearing with the Pittsburgh Steelers too, how Art Rooney the second has been like, we're going to continue to win, and we're going to
Mhm.
get a head coach here that we're going to, keep things moving. They feel, which I thought was interesting, with we talked about last night. They feel they're not on a rebuild, that they can keep
Yeah,
going, and all this stuff.
yeah.
And he wouldn't be talking like that. I feel like if they knew that opportunity was on the table to trade.
Mhm.
So I feel like, yeah, the best opportunity or the best thing for both of them, and they have respect for each other, is that Mike Tomlin's going to take a year off, do whatever he wants. It could be TV or whatever. And then, yeah, now look forward to the next season. All right, I've had a good vacation or relaxation after 20 years. Let's kind of get into it if I feel like it still. And that would give him the open opportunity. Absolutely. So some of these teams looking, I don't even know if they're even going to try and interview Mike Tomlin. We haven't even heard about any of that. So I don't think that's going to be on the docket. Rise Up Dirty Birds is in the house with us again.
Yes,
Um,
sir.
there he
As he
is.
always is.
Hashtag know it all.
Yes, yes. First to
Clint
comment,
Kubiak for
absolutely.
Atlanta
Too.
head coach.
There you go. You know who he
We
wants.
know that's your wish list.
Yes,
We
that
we
is.
definitely know that.
That is,
Um,
right there. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what's so that's what's funny when you look at some of the firings,
mhm,
obviously, and say, hey, where's this guy going to land, or what's a good best fit for him now that he's gone?
mhm.
Some of these guys now that are getting looked at and interviewed, where is the best situation for, say, Clint Kubiak, of the opportunities that are there, the Giants, the Falcons, the Ravens, the Miami Dolphins, so the Titans. So some of these offensive coordinators and smart minds here that, run offenses around the league that people are seeking out. What's the best opportunity for some of these guys? Do you feel like Clint Kubiak at Atlanta is probably the best fit for him?
I think it's one of the options. I don't think there's a truly one team is the absolute best fit. Now, obviously, we can go through scales where the Giants' job is seen as one of the more, appealing job to go to for any coach. I would say. I mean, you think about it. They already have their future at quarterback. You have, Malik Neighbors, and then this offseason, you add another high end caliber wide receiver to the opposite side. Obviously, you got to upgrade the offensive line, but there's not a ton of work to do. And then you look on the defensive side, there's a lot of promise defensively. You get yourself a good defensive coordinator with the staff that gets put in place, and that team could turn it around relatively quickly in the next couple of years, maybe even next year. Who knows? Um, but they are a team taking a step in the right direction, and there's teams like that after them. I would say Atlanta Falcons are another great spot to go to because they too have a lot of young pieces already in place. They already have a really good rock solid offensive line. And then
Mhm.
defensively, we saw the ascension that was the Atlanta Falcons defense this past season where they had not one but two rookies pan out and were wreaking havoc in the backfield. So there's a lot to like with the Atlanta Falcons franchise as well. So there's a few teams and you can kind of like if you wanted to, you could literally rank these teams based on, what you think is more appealing or not.
Yeah.
So those are a couple teams to name. Then you have kind of like the mid-tier teams where it's like obviously the Steelers are a historical franchise. The Baltimore Ravens have a lot going for them with their talent and stuff, so that's appealing as well. But then you got some of these other teams that are kind of like fighting for bids to get like their guy, like the Browns. Obviously, they've been a dumpster fire for quite some time now. Who could possibly turn that around? I think when the dust all settles, it looks like the Browns might have to take whatever's left because it's not the most appealing. They themselves said this week that going into the offseason now, this could be
Mhm,
just a
mhm.
rumor, but it just sounds so Cleveland. It just sounds so like Cleveland to go into this offseason to have not only Shador Sanders, Dylan Gabriel, and a future addition, whether that be the draft or free agency, all compete for the starting quarterback job next season. So no one really nailed it down, and they still don't have a quarterback basically. So
Mhm,
I don't know if you really want to get into that situation. And
mhm.
obviously, there's other teams too involved. Tennessee Titans, they got their nucleus and all that. So uh definitely I would say Giants probably number 1 in my
Mhm,
mind.
mhm.
Baltimore Ravens are up there. The Atlanta Falcons are up there. You can negotiate it however way you want to
Yeah,
or
yeah.
rank it, but there are definitely a few teams that are kind of like the bells of the ball, so to speak.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, and, it's what you kinda wanna step into, right? I if you look at it, you're like, "Do I wanna kinda build this team? Do I wanna do this?" That's why a lot of coaches stay in college. I know somebody had even brought up about Deion Sanders and stuff possibly going to the
No,
Ravens. And
no.
no, it's definitely not. And the thing is, again, he likes to coach the young men too and do that and stuff. It's safe there, and you're getting paid great down there too. So a lot of these coaches, which I think is funny too, is like a lot of these lists that we're seeing the requests for interviews, not a lot of college names out here. Um, Sitting with some of these teams yet, and moving on because
You're
I
not
feel
gonna
like
see a lot of them.
right,
I mean,
right.
honestly, like, you look
Hmm.
at, like, the biggest name when the ball dropped and everyone was like, "Oh, Marcus Freeman, let's go get him." There was a
Hmm.
couple teams definitely all in on Marcus Freeman to try to lure him away from the college ranks, but turns out he's like, "No, I'm gonna stay." A lot of times with these college coaches, and if they make that big jump, no matter how successful they were in college, and they make that jump and try to make it in the NFL, 9 times out of 10, it doesn't work out.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, it is a different business, it's a different demographic, and a lot of times look at Nick Saban. Nick Saban, legendary college football coach, legendary,
Hmm.
all time, goes to Miami Dolphins. And in 1 year to 2 years, he was out.
Yep.
The
Yeah.
NFL just chewed him up and spit him out. He went back to college ranks, coached Alabama, and was great yet again. So, if Nick Saban can't make it in the NFL, you can just see how difficult it is for college coaches to come into the NFL and be successful.
Yeah, and when you look at that, I mean, Nick Saban, if he ever wanted to, like before he retired, he probably could have made another shot too, because one other thing that coaches look for is, well, how can I even, get even better at this and blah, blah, blah. When you're that great for college, do I go and move on in the upper echelon? Do I try and, achieve this much more greatness? Obviously, he tried it on a little younger and then went back to Alabama, then created even this the juggernaut of what Alabama was. Some younger guys aren't ready to do any of that. I mean, if you don't have, the swagger already with you or the accolades, before you're trying to make that jump, a lot of times, coaches aren't going to look for you, especially as a head coach. Now, when you see coordinators come up, that's where you're going to get some of those guys, obviously, moving up and trying to make a name for themselves and go into some of these other head coaches, Sean McVay's and things and whatnot to try and make something out
It's
of
a
it.
big risk. It's a
Oh, yeah,
humongous
absolutely.
risk. Nick Saban tried it, failed miserably.
Mhm.
And that's the thing, though, is it doesn't matter how great of a coach you
Yeah.
are.
Urban
It's a
Meyer,
different,
you know what I mean?
completely different type of atmosphere and
Mhm.
different environment to get used to. And a lot of times it doesn't work out for those guys. Now, when you look at maybe, I think it works better if you come up very slowly. Like if you were a coordinator in college and you come up to be a quarterbacks coach
Yeah.
in the NFL, maybe it'll you know, it's a little bit slower paced and you'll be able to work with the quarterback and not have to have all this pressure on you to succeed right away. So if they can grow into the role, I feel like that kind of works out better, just like a rookie quarterback coming into the NFL. If you
Mhm.
don't develop them properly and before you just stick them out there, if they're not ready, it's going to show and it's going to be one and done.
Yeah, so looking at some of the other job openings that are open, let's take a look at the Baltimore Ravens right after that. Because Harbaugh is gone, some people had even debated, say, hey, if you swap, I've heard this from a Baltimore Ravens fan.
What's that?
Um, if you swapped, like you got that trade done, right? If you went and did the trade for Mike Tomlin and Tomlin goes to, or no, it wasn't, it was the other ones. It wasn't Mike Tomlin. It was a trade with the Cleveland Browns and Baltimore. If they traded head coaches,
Okay.
Stefanski went to Baltimore and Harbaugh went to Cleveland.
Hmm.
They felt that Cleveland would still be bad and Stefanski would do well in Baltimore. Do you agree with that statement?
I don't, because Kevin Stefanski, whenever he was given an opportunity, you think of Baker Mayfield, was probably his last best quarterback that he coached in Cleveland. And we all seen, I mean, no, hindsight's 2020. We've seen what happened after Cleveland decided to move on from him. Huge mistake. But Stefanski couldn't help Baker Mayfield when he was in Cleveland. And then every quarterback that they got, they made that huge push. Get the trade for Deshaun Watson. It's going to completely change our offense. I got this. This is my guy. He put his hand up like, yeah, let's make this trade. If we make this trade, we're winning games. We're competing for the Super Bowl. We're going to turn this thing around. Didn't happen. Fell flat on his face. So it's like no matter what the scenario was, what quarterback that he had at his disposal, he continued to fail offensively. That's the whole reason why the guy was brought into Cleveland
Mm,
in the first place.
mm,
Turn the offense around. We got a good defense already. We just need you to put points on the board and let's get some wins. Couldn't do it. So you mean to tell me that if you swap those coaches, now keep in mind, John Harbaugh is way up here in
mm,
terms of head coaches.
mm,
Kevin Stefanski is basically still a toddler.
mm.
He still hasn't been able to figure things out as a head coach and even an offensive minded guy. So if I put John Harbaugh in that situation that and as bad as it was, same time Stefanski was there with Baker Mayfield and all that, I'm telling you
Mhm,
right now, Harbaugh's making that Browns team a winner.
mhm.
Harbaugh's not going
Yeah.
to allow he's gonna stake his coaching career on it and say, "No, we are not trading Baker Mayfield. We're keeping that kid. He's got talent, and we just need to continue to build around him." It would have been a lot different direction had you swapped those coaches.
Mhm,
Stefanski, a lot of talent in Baltimore. So it's not to say that Stefanski would have failed.
mhm.
He might have been all right. The Ravens might have been maybe the same, or who knows? But if we swap those guys, I definitely think that Harbaugh makes the Cleveland Browns great again.
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah. I like it too. It's funny that when you hear from the fan base, we hear from Rise Up Dirty Birds all the time about his Atlanta Falcons, and
Yes.
we we peel down the curtain from the the red shaded lens that he views things through a little bit, but he does say a lot of truth about his team though too, because they know him and stuff. But it's interesting to see the points of view that they have about their team as well.
Yeah.
That's a little diluted or out there, so and I've heard this about some of the Cleveland Browns team fans also, again, feel like it was Stefanski's problem. It's not the franchise. People that wanted Harbaugh out so badly, Ravens fans really wanted him out even still too. I mean, and you're like, okay, you hate winning for some reason, I mean, I don't get it. And yes, you did give up a bunch of second half, come from behind losses, that you didn't hold on to the win. That's one attribute that is kind of stuck with them. But you're in it every single year just about, or you feel like you have that, and that's some things that some franchises have never felt, like the Cleveland Browns, and since they've joined the NFL, like us, our teams for the last decade or two. So it's interesting to hear the different points of view. Now, so looking at job openings, we looked at the Giants and things.
Let's kick something off here. Let's start with one of these teams and start really like diving into who we think is going to be a good coach. Let's start with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah.
Since the recent news with Tomlin stepping down. Now, what does that mean for Pittsburgh right now? To me, Pittsburgh is a organization that is usually well run up top, right? The owner's probably the most patient owner I've ever seen. And this is his son. This isn't the original Art Rooney. So you give them credit for handling what they handle behind closed doors. We've seen there was a lot of turmoil before. I mean, you look at the Antonio Brown issue and how they were able to keep that under wraps, not even a leak of information of how bad this dude was or batshit crazy he was. But now you fast forward to now where Tomlin's gone. What's the next step for Pittsburgh? Pittsburgh's going to want, and like you said in the very beginning of the show, is they view this team as not a rebuild. They view it as a retooling and then pushing for the playoffs and further again. I beg to differ. I think they got beer goggles on right now, and they're just not really seeing this roster clearly. A lot of aging vets are on this roster. Now, guys that were aging, like Darius Slay, they do have that young kid in Joey Porter Jr., who's actually played fairly well for them on the opposite side. But again, you have sprinkled.
You got Cam Hayward that's been there for a while too.
He just signed a 3-year deal extension.
Yeah,
and it's like this guy's already mid-30s, and I don't think it's a very smart decision. I get it, but legacy, guy, you want to keep him around. But I will say this. Because of the aging guys that they haven't been able to rotate in some more youth and really kind of put this team on a pedestal, there's a lot of big time question marks for me. Pittsburgh Steelers still don't have a quarterback. Aaron Rodgers is probably going to leave Pittsburgh, most definitely.
Yeah.
Whether he retires or goes to another team for one more year, that remains to be seen. But again, Steelers have no quarterback. Their options are Mason Rudolph and Will Howard, who they drafted. And we only saw a very small amount of what Will Howard was able to do. So still technically will be a rookie next year, and no answer there. You have a offensive line that you've started to piece together, looks pretty good. You got DK Metcalf and nobody else. I'm sorry, Pittsburgh fans, but you literally have one go-to receiver and everybody else is kind of like just average players. You need to upgrade the wide receiver group. Running backs, you're good.
Yeah.
So defensively is kind of like where the aging process has kind of hurt them a little bit more. You look at TJ Watt and his recent injuries that he's had. He did sign that big mega deal, so he'll be there for quite some time. But you also got to wonder, having that punctured lung, having the issues that he's had with just being beat up this whole entire season, is it going to continue? Because he is getting older, and how much time is he going to miss going forward? I'm not saying that you should move on from it all. I'm just saying that it's something you got to think about. Rebuilding that defensive line, the rest of the defense with youth, and getting better that way. So I think there's just so many tough decisions for Pittsburgh, just roster wise,
Mhm.
that I feel like even though it's a historical franchise and anybody would drop their hat to go coach the Pittsburgh Steelers,
Mhm.
I just feel like there's so many question marks that it makes it tough to sell it to any one of these coaches.
Yeah. I feel like their drafting hasn't helped them out at all. They've missed lately at wide receiver, I'd say, to where, Aaron Rodgers hasn't been able to connect with those guys. They're young, so he's bringing in veterans. They've filled gaps where they've missed with veterans. They've
Right.
invested most of their money in older veterans. So the only way this works out for them moving forward from the get-go, the best case scenario is that they bring in an offensive-minded head coach or a defensive-minded that has a great offensive coordinator that can work with Will Howard and get him going and be able to, run this offense and whatever it may be at this point.
Mhm.
And you got your money invested in your old veterans. You get still your last couple of years out of Cam Hayward and TJ Watt, Highsmith, those guys are core guys. And then when they're running out, now you can invest, you can draft, but they haven't proven to us that they're capable of doing that with
Mhm.
not being able to draft a franchise quarterback in the last 10 years. Not, getting some talent, on wide receivers, but shipping him out due to problems on the interior with all that. And one of the factors I think that led to the situation and what happened this year, which I think was amazing and uh, kind of contributes to the legacy of Mike Tomlin, is they brought in a bunch of different free agents that were older. Aaron Rodgers didn't show up. People forget about that. He didn't show up until late. And because he wants to miss OTAs, wants to miss all this, doesn't want to do any of the practices. But this guy is older dude. Like, I don't want to go hang out with my receivers and play with them and get to know them and do this and practice with them and blah, blah, blah. So you saw that when DK Metcalf, who he did, throw some balls with, in the offseason, when he wasn't there, he doesn't trust the other guys. You know what? You know why? Because you didn't get your practices in with him. You didn't work out with him. You didn't do all that. You were just waiting around, didn't want to do the practices. You didn't want to do this and that. Then you injected yourself into this team. And when it didn't work out, you're trying to grab guys, older veterans that, hey, I know him. He could probably catch the ball. And the fact that they were able to make it as far as they did with that scenario, I thought really was big for Mike Tomlin and what he's done moving forward. But
For everybody viewing the show, please comment down below who you think the Pittsburgh Steelers should be. What should be their next go-to plan of action with their head coach? Because there's a hell of a lot of talent out there. So, Jim, who are you selecting for the Pittsburgh Steelers? Who do you think fits them the best, or who do you think, in your opinion, would work out well for them?
yeah, for me, I don't know. I got to think of an offensive minded guy. Maybe they do get a shot at one of these guys. I don't think it's going to be, your Clint Kubiaks and stuff, but maybe they are able to get like a Mike LaFleur or something like that, um, offensive coordinator from the Rams, kind of inject that into this offense. Um, try, what I think they should do even in the off season, if this is I haven't looked at his contract yet, but what I've seen from Mac Jones this year, he
Mhm.
could potentially be a free agent to sign for
No,
one of
he
the
is a free
teams.
agent this year.
There you go.
He
So
will be.
I feel that could be an opportunity for the Pittsburgh Steelers also.
Yeah.
If they want to kind of pick up where they left off, you can get him still on the cheap. Obviously, you're going to pay a little bit more from with his success that he has had.
They're
But
gonna pay a lot more.
yeah, no, I get that. But still, it's not really terrible for you. I think it's not going to break the bank. And I think you can still have success and still be that bridge quarterback to, who you might have if it's not Will Howard, and you might be able to draft, later down the line.
So here's the issue with Pittsburgh right now is, again, they don't have quarterback. You mentioned that Mac Jones might be a viable option for them, but it's going to come down to who they have at head coach first and foremost. There's no guarantee that they would even pursue Mac Jones.
Mm.
Will he even fit the offense that will be instilled? There's a lot of still variable questions to answer. And I think, with that being said, I think that the Steelers might be a little bit more safer. I think that for me, I think I would go with Brian Flores, the D coordinator for the Minnesota Vikings right now, to become the new head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, in my opinion, because they seem to always gravitate towards those guys where they're a little bit defensive minded. They want to continue to rebuild the defense because Pittsburgh Steelers are known to be the steel curtain, and they continue to grasp for that yet again. I think Flores makes a lot of sense because of his demeanor. He seems more like a Pittsburgh guy, blue collar, no BS, like it's all business.
Mhm.
I think that kind of that whole town and Flores would have a nice marriage there and um going forward. Now,
Yep.
if you do hire a defensive minded guy like Flores, then it's going to come down to, well, who you bring in for your offensive staff. And if you do get Flores, he might be looking towards some of the players that or players, coaches that he used to coach with, maybe back in New England. Maybe try to
Mhm.
bring some of that New England flair offensively to them. You still run the ball, you can still be a tough physical team. Um, but sprinkle in some elements of the passing game once in a while, make become more balanced a little bit. Um, I think that might be the option for the Steelers going forward was Brian Flores. So
Yeah, was looking at that too right before you said that. I'm like, oh, there is also Brian Flores fits kind of the mold.
yeah,
He's black too, so that fits the mold for the Steelers, right? So
I don't think so.
no, no, that's terrible.
Um,
I
so
know. So
next
what else you got?
next team we're going to go with the Baltimore Ravens. Let's talk about them for a little bit.
Yeah.
They've had numerous, interviews already. A lot of requests that were put out there to all different kinds of coaches. Some offensive, some defensive. We know that Clint Kubiak, another hot name, was also interviewed by the Baltimore Ravens. Cliff Kingsbury recently just got interviewed. Um,
Yep.
Lot of talent there. I mean, there's
Mhm.
really not a whole lot to talk about with the Ravens. It's just, can you deal with Lamar Jackson?
Mhm.
Can you deal with the diva that is Lamar Jackson? And this has shown he's really shown his colors since Harbaugh got let go. A lot of information has kind of fallen out of Baltimore to where it's like, oh, well, maybe Harbaugh wasn't the issue. Lamar wants to do Lamar things when he wants to do them and didn't want to listen to the coaching and leadership there. So, um, again, this is another scenario where the franchise chooses the quarterback over the coach, and it hasn't worked in the history of the NFL that way. So, we'll see if this time is any different. But for the Ravens, for me, real quick, I'm going to say Cliff Kingsbury. I've been saying it once he
Yeah.
left Washington. I'm saying this is a perfect fit for both the Ravens and Cliff Kingsbury. He can become a head coach again. He can run his offensive system with a mobile quarterback, which he loves to utilize. I think that it would be a great fit for both.
Right. I agree. I don't think anything will be a drastic change for the offense. I don't think he's going to be one of those coordinators that, hey, Lamar, I want you to stay in the pocket. I think he's going to
No,
utilize his legs.
he's
He's
a
going to
mobile
let him
guy.
run free. He's going to let him do that. But I don't think they're going to overly run either. You saw what happened when they had Greg Roman, and you're talking about Lamar. I think Greg Roman's not there because of Lamar, and Todd Monken's not there because of Lamar, and now John Harbaugh is not there because of Lamar. If you
Right.
insert Cliff Kingsbury in there and he is the head coach, he's like, listen, I'm here. This is my offense. This is what we're gonna do. I'm calling the plays. You like it or not, this is what it is. You know what I mean? And I think it kind of helps set them straight. And I think they will flourish doing that. And I don't think it's going to hurt anything with Derrick Henry as well for the remaining years that he has. I think he's going to flourish as
Right.
well. You saw what
Yeah.
happened even when James Conner went down to the Cardinals when Cliff Kingsbury was there. He flourished. So it's not like any of that will change either. So I think it would be a great hire for them. Absolutely. I agree.
All right. Let's talk about the Cleveland Browns right now. Cleveland Browns, we
Yep.
talked a little bit about them earlier in the show. It's one of those jobs that you kind of don't want to go to Cleveland, because of their history, because of their track record, and it doesn't seem to get any better. Like we talked about how poorly the Pittsburgh Steelers have been drafting lately. They haven't been hitting the ball out of the park, so to speak. Well, the Cleveland Browns aren't far behind. And it's not defensively. Defensively, they seem to be
Yeah.
adding to that defense. It's really good. However, offensively, they've neglected it. It's gotten to the point where we talked about how Pittsburgh has some aging veterans. Well, so doesn't Cleveland offensively. You don't really have a receiving core. Your best receiver's Jerry Judy. Your best receiver in Jerry Judy he's a little above average. He's not really that spectacular. And then you have no quarterback. Your offensive line is getting older and getting worse. So that just needs an overhaul to begin with. And then the one, or I should say two little sparks of hope on offense is recently drafted Quinshawn Judkins, the running back, and Harold Fannin Jr., the tight end.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. You nailed those. However, Quinshawn Judkins got hurt all year long in his rookie campaign. Is that going to continue? Is he going to have a short lifespan in the NFL? Is that any indicator of that? And then there's a whole lot to do on offense. You basically need to rebuild your whole entire offense all over again. So it's not the most appealing job. And I feel like because of that, the Cleveland Browns are going to miss out on a couple of high-end coaches.
Mm-hmm.
And what basically like trying to monitor who they've like interviewed and what I think they might be going for a little bit. I gotta say, it's not going to be anything spectacular. I think that there's a lot of candidates out there. Like you mentioned, Mike LaFleur, the offensive coordinator for the Rams, is being a unproven, inexperienced guy to call plays because McVay does that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe this is an opportunity for a guy like him to come in and not just be a coordinator, but be a head coach right away. A younger guy getting a great opportunity. Maybe that could be an option. But I know Cleveland is looking for. So, with that being said, it's tough for me to kind of make this decision. But you know what? It sounds kind of funny, but I haven't heard his name too much. But what about Brian Daboll in this
Right.
scenario? Because he's offensive minded, right? He got jettisoned out of New York, and I understand it. Like it was just that time to move on from Daboll. But maybe he could get another job. Maybe it's Joe Brady, the offensive coordinator for the Bills. He's another option for them if they want to go offensive, which I think is what they should be doing.
Yeah.
Your defense is pretty much set. Now, it would be great if they could hire an offensive-minded coach, but also keep Jim Schwartz as their D coordinator. I
Yeah.
don't. Now I'm starting to see Jim Schwartz start to get some notice. He's starting to get some more interest towards him as a DC, maybe even a head coach, maybe in some roles. But again,
Which I think
I,
he
I'm
should.
looking at someone like that where maybe he's a little bit off the beaten path. No one's really talking about Daboll that much. He's had a couple of interviews, not a lot. And you know what? And what's to say Mike McCarthy might not get a shot
Yeah.
at this? Like this is another guy who's only had a couple of interviews really, and kind of floating out there, similar to Daboll. So maybe those guys that people have either forgotten about or don't even want to give them a shot. Cleveland could end up picking up those scraps, and I feel like it might be better for them.
Yeah, I can understand what you're thinking. I was thinking Mike McCarthy as well. If there's no other spots out there, I could see him, in them kind of going towards, hey, let's go get that veteran that we know, a proven winner, somebody that's done it before, and let's kind of, start from there. From a team or a franchise that has had Bill Belichick in the building, had a terrible season or two and got rid of him, and then look what he did in New England. I'm sure they want to kind of bring somebody back, in here. They'll say, hey, this guy knows kind of what he's doing, even after being out of the game and then going to Dallas, was winning still.
Mhm.
This might be a good idea to get this organization going. As far as somebody else, it could be Daboll. It could be, again, somebody I think that it's their first job, trying it out to see what happens. Again, a fresh start, but they've done that multiple times. They've done it with, who was their coach before? Former Raider coach they had right before, I think right when Baker was there. And then he didn't like him, Baker. So then they went and elevated Freddie Kitchens, who was the offensive coordinator at the time, and then didn't like him. And then they got Kevin Stefanski. But I can't remember. Man, it's right on the tip of my tongue. He used to coach the Raiders and some others, um, but we don't want to see that happen. We don't
Not
want to see
Jack Del
this.
Rio, right?
No. Yeah, but we don't want to see this like history repeat itself. And I think a good way to do that is kind of bring in Mike McCarthy, or like you brought up Jim Schwartz. I don't know why they're not already doing that interview. Did they or not? Because I would. He's already in
No.
there,
He's
and
gotten
be like,
other
"Yo,"
interests elsewhere.
because look what you've done with the defense. The team is around you. The team represents defense. So
Yeah.
you can see players just revolve right into him and go, boy, yeah, this is a guy. We love this guy, and after his first stint in the NFL as a head coach, coming back, he's learned some stuff, coming back, maybe a little less fiery and stuff, at least from that
He's
aspect,
old,
and how he
sure,
treated people, but he's learned some things now. So maybe second time's not so shabby here. And, if you're probably not expecting much, either being, the coach of the Cleveland Browns. So I would say those couple of recipients.
Yeah. That brings us to the
Yeah.
Atlanta Falcons.
Yep.
This is Rise Up's team, by the way.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we can't do him dirty or
Nope.
anything, or else he's going to let us, give us a mouthful about it.
Mhm.
But I think I'm going to look forward to that. So, Atlanta Falcons again. I feel like this is one of the top teams, like for a job that you would want to go ahead and get that opportunity to take over this roster and see what you can do with it. We know Rise Up, huge Atlanta Falcon fan out there. He says that he swears Penix is going to be a franchise quarterback when he's fully healthy. Problem is with that, my concern about Penix is never what did I doubt that he was going to be a franchise quarterback, but I doubted his injury history, and it's
Yeah.
starting to creep up already. Tearing his ACL again. This
Mhm.
is not a good thing. Usually, when this starts to happen multiple times, like it had happened a couple times in college, and now it's happening already in the NFL, it seems to kind of snowball effect.
Yep.
And he might not be available for future years. So, but we'll have to monitor that. We'll see if he can maintain health. Again, Falcons team, definitely one of the more sought after jobs out there to take over. I like what they have at their disposal, offensively, defensively, a lot of youth already implemented in the roster and the personnel. You're going to be backed by one of the more wealthy owners in Arthur Blank. Uh,
Mhm.
so I mean, there's a lot to like. They got that newer stadium. It's not brand new anymore, but
No,
it's
but
newer.
still, yeah.
So with the facilities and all that and what they've been able to accomplish so far in terms of adding talent, I think they're going to go offensive minded, but with a short list of offensive minded candidates. That's where it gets a little tougher. Now, I know Rise Up's opinion is definitely, Clint Kubiak. What can he be their guy? I know initially he was their number one target. Now, after interviewing him, and now it seems like they're dipping their toe a little bit more into the John Harbaugh sweepstakes. It's
Mhm.
almost like they're getting a little distracted from the main goal
Yeah.
was to maybe just go after Kubiak and see if he can land him. But now that they have sensed that there is a opening for John Harbaugh, that maybe, just maybe Harbaugh might choose Atlanta. Now it seems like their focus has shifted a lot just towards John Harbaugh. I understand it. I get it. But I don't think it will be the right decision. If they end up landing Harbaugh, I think they needed that offensive-minded guru, that modern day, all bright young offensive mind to bring him in the building, have him work with these skilled players, with Michael Penix at quarterback, with, Kyle Pitts is due to be a free agent, but maybe they re-sign him, Drake London, Bijan Robinson, all that.
Mhm.
So, if that doesn't work out and they are left out in the cold, Harbaugh doesn't choose them. Now, what's to say that Klint Kubiak is already gone as well? Now you might have shot yourself in the foot to where who you going with? Mike LaFleur? Again, inexperience.
Mhm.
Hopefully he pans out for you, or do you have to go defensive minded now because you waited too long to get that offensive minded guy? So For me, this is a tricky situation for Atlanta just because it seems like they're getting distracted. It seems like they're trying to go for John Harbaugh. I don't think Harbaugh will choose them in the very end, and because of that, I think they're wasting time.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a tough one here because I understand what they're looking at with Harbaugh with the accolades again of what he's
Mhm.
done and done for a team. So for the Atlanta though, I mean, that's an enticing job right there though too with the talent that you have. You have one of the best, if not the best, running back in the league. You have
Mhm.
a young upstart quarterback that could potentially be something, but like you said, you're worried about injuries and at least for the time being, you have Kirk Cousins, who's doing okay, as a game manager. As long as you run safe with the football, you should be okay here
Mhm.
and get it going. And wide receivers now that have kind of come into their own too on top of it. So do you get somebody like Harbaugh who has everything, but he can get the right defensive coordinator to kind of get it going for you? Seems like right now they're interviewing a lot of defensive coordinators again and staying on that
Because
typical
there's so
side.
many of them.
Right, and so for me, I mean, the Raheem Morris didn't work out, but maybe they go for, Robert Saleh, and try and go back to the 49ers kinda tree like they did back when, um, they had,
Mhm.
Shanahan there as their offensive coordinator too. So we'll see. We'll see what they do. I know they want to go Kubiak. I'm sure that would probably be their first bet after this is all said and done. You know that Harbaugh's going to do the tour, what he's going to do. I don't think it's smart to kind of just wait around and see what he's going to do. I think they need to be proactive because then, like you said, you could potentially just miss on getting somebody like Clint Kubiak or something if that's the case and that's who you really want. Go get them. Don't wait because some of these other teams that are desperate or think that, hey, Harbaugh's not even thinking about coming here. All right, thanks. We're gonna take. Hey, let's bring this guy in right now. Let's
But I
not let
think
him
what's
leave the building.
I think for Atlanta, they have to get an offensive-minded guy. They can't go
Yeah,
back
no,
to
I
Mahomes.
know.
So
I agree.
and here's the other thing too, is like you mentioned, like, I wouldn't put it out of the realm of possibility if they don't get Clint Kubiak, and I know Harbaugh's enticing, but if let's just say those 2 are out of the running, and now they have to switch focus. All right, well, we missed out on not 1 but 2 guys. Now what's the direction we go in? And I think they're still gonna stick with offensive minded. That's where you might get into these conversations of, well, Joe Brady. Well, Cliff Kingsbury, if he's available and doesn't get the Ravens job, you know what I mean? That's
Yep.
another option. I think Cliff Kingsbury would do a great job in Atlanta.
Mhm,
You know,
mhm.
um, Mike LaFleur, I think it's maybe a year or two too early for him. But again, if you still want to maintain that offensive minded guy, you go for him. And then here's another option that I don't think anybody's ever brought this guy's name up is he's a different Kubiak. It's Clay Kubiak,
Mhm,
who's the offensive coordinator for the 49ers.
mhm.
And just like you mentioned, Jim, maybe they go back to that 49er tree. Well, maybe it's not defensive. Maybe it's offensive. Maybe they get the disciple of Kyle Shanahan and bring him over. And maybe, just maybe, he's able to bring over some of the Niners staff that are for promotions and whatnot. So
Mhm.
there's definitely a different avenue that they can go, still stay offensive, but maybe you got to go a different direction. Maybe it's Joe Brady. Maybe it's Mike McCarthy. Because I still think Mike McCarthy is a very underrated coach at this point, and I think that if he does get a job, the offense is going to get better.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So what's up? Who's the next one we're looking at?
All right, so now that we're done with the Atlanta Falcons, rise up. I hope you're happy with our breakdown of the Falcons, but Arizona Cardinals, a team that doesn't really get a lot of spotlight, and we do know that they are another team, not like Cleveland. Well, I guess kind of like Cleveland, actually. Come to think of it, they are a
Mm,
team that is in dire need of offensive help. Their defense has been basically rebuilt by Jonathan Gannon, who they just outed,
mhm.
and now he's a free agent coach out there as a DC.
Yep.
Um, this is a team where, again, you're going to come into a situation where you have no quarterback. They're moving on from Kyler Murray. That's pretty evident. Um, so you have no quarterback. Your offensive line needs to get better. You have basically, you got, I guess, 2 receivers that are decent. Like Michael Wilson has shown up this season for them. Marvin Harrison Jr. I don't think he's being used right, but again, what do I know?
Mhm.
Uh, And then so there's a lot of problems and a lot of question marks offensively. Defensively, they're younger. They're tougher, they're better. So I think the defense is not as bad as it may have ranked out at the end of the season, but if you can rebuild that offensive side of the ball, then you might be in the thick of things next year. You might be able to be at least competitive. Um, I don't know who would take this job now. I mean, so much work. I mean, you would think that the Arizona Cardinals want to go offensive minded, seeing that that is the big um, playing field there for them. That they
Yeah.
just need so much help, and it has to start with coaching. Is that the area where like I mean, because there's such a lack of coaching there. I'm surprised that they're not being more aggressive in their head coaching search. We've
Mhm.
only heard that they've had 1 or 2 interview requests for guys.
Yeah.
And, I'm sorry, but, like, if I'm Arizona and because of the limited list of offensive-minded guys that are out there, you need to start getting to work,
Yeah.
you know? Cliff Kingsbury, we know he's off the table
Yeah, he's off the table. He's not
because
coming back, right?
he's one and he
Yeah.
was there already before,
Yeah.
so he's not going there. But I don't know. I just don't know what is going to attract anybody to Arizona other than inexperience, and this is your big shot where you could go Mike LaFleur, but also could go, um, you could go with Joe Brady. You go with Mike
Mhm.
McCarthy, Brian Daboll, even like anybody else that's kind of lower tier, or in my opinion, they're a little bit
Mhm.
lower tier of offensive minds. I think that's what's going to end up with this job unless they don't care about an offensive direction. We've
It
seen him
might stick
hire
away. We've seen
Jonathan.
it a bunch of different times. Yeah.
We've seen him hire Jonathan Gannon. They've had Steve Wilkes there. They've had um they a lot of times they've gone defensive minded for some
Yeah.
reason.
Mhm.
Maybe it's time to switch it up. Maybe you have to go offense. And I know they have tried to reach out for Clint Kubiak as well.
Mhm.
Understandable, but if you're Clint, you're not taking that job.
Mhm.
There's just too much work to do.
Mhm.
I think this is one of those teams like Cleveland that is going to have a hard time getting one of these bright, young, up and coming offensive minds to kind of come in and take over that job. So I think it's a tough one to pick from. I
Mhm.
mean, you might even see a off the wall name for Arizona when it's all said and done. You
Yeah.
might see a Josh Grizzard who recently got fired from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as an offensive coordinator. Maybe that's going to end up being their guy. You
Yeah.
know, who knows with
Right. Yeah. And it's funny because I was thinking about some names too that we had just forgot about and that are kind of hot names out there too, and where their
Mhm.
potential landing spots could be. But Jesse Minter is a name that's been thrown out there a lot too, who defensive coordinator for the Chargers. I I don't know if he would go to Arizona, but I know there's some other spots to where I think would be an enticing coach for a team to lead a defense. But I
He's
feel
got
like
3 interviews already.
for the Cardinals, maybe they do go defense to kind of help that out and be solid there, and then grab somebody just to tweak the offense a bit and kind of do what they do because they do have potential there. They have Trey McBride, you have Marvin Harrison Jr., who seemed like he started to turn things around. Uh, you know, Wilson looked pretty good. So you just need a healthy running back. And James Conner seems like when James Conner went down and then Kyler Murray on top of it, that just ended things. So I think if they can get a couple of running backs in there and move on, and kind of get that going, that could kind of jumpstart them into something to try and get that offense a little more
Well,
balanced.
keep in mind that they still have Trey Benson.
Mhm.
Trey Benson is a younger running back who's still looking for his opportunity to start and become a big factor for them. So, and they used a high pick on him. But again, like the Cardinals is going to be a tough
Mhm.
job to sell to these high end coaches. It just is.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
what about Mike McDaniel? What about Mike McDaniel? Like
Yeah. They
again,
decide to, but
it's gonna
mhm.
be a very tough sell for anybody.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
if I'm a coordinator right now and I'm looking for this head coaching opportunity, then Arizona starts calling, I'm gonna take the interview. I'm
Yeah.
gonna go
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and do it. However, I might I might be more willing to just stay a coordinator for another year, and then in the next head coaching cycle, maybe a better opportunity arises. So, um, definitely a tough job. Much like the Cleveland Browns, it's another tough job to kind of sell. But I think this is interesting because Arizona has been so quiet up to this point with
Mhm.
their search.
Yeah.
They haven't brought in a lot of guys yet. They seem to bring in like 2, 3, 4 guys at the most just yet, but and maybe that's because lack of interest in the job too. So, I don't know. We'll see what happens with Arizona, but again, it's a very tough um team to kind of predict what coach they're going to end up with for sure.
Mhm.
Next on the list, we got the Las Vegas Raiders. Raiders, different scenario completely than Cleveland and Arizona. They don't really have a great defense. They don't have a good defense. That side of the ball needs to be rebuilt. This is a rebuild. Let's make no mistake about
Yeah.
this. As much as Pete Carroll wanted everybody to believe last year, like, oh no, we're going to retool this thing and be competitive. No, you need to rebuild this thing from the ground up. Foundation starts with Max Crosby and a few other players that they already have on the roster. You got to build around all that. You need a quarterback. Well, guess what? Number 1 overall pick. They're going to get their guy at quarterback. So that's that's already taken care of. You know, offensively, they need probably about 3 upgrades at offensive line. They got some younger talent at wide receivers, and they drafted Gentry the year prior. So they got kind of fragments of a team, especially offensively. I feel like more that's ready to make that turn a little bit. Defensively, complete rebuild. So, what can entice a coach, and what coach would that be for the Raiders? Well, you look at the money. When we talk about rebuild, usually a team doesn't have a lot of money to make that change relatively quickly. Well, the Raiders are going to end up with the second highest salary cap number when it's all said and done when free agency gets around. So you got plenty of money to play with to get 4 or 5 really good free agents and bring them into your building. It's got to start up front because you're going to take that quarterback. Coaching wise, we've seen him interview Clint Kubiak. We've seen him interview defensive minded guys. We've seen Vance Joseph as an interview candidate, but maybe that was more of a minority thing than a legit head coaching
Yeah.
job. They're going to interview all these high end defensive guys. Jesse Minter
Yeah.
is going in for
Yep.
an interview.
Yep.
Robert Sala, I know they're waiting for him to be done in the playoffs to interview him. Chris Shula and so forth. But you
Mhm.
need offensive. You're bringing in a young quarterback, a rookie quarterback who's going to lead your franchise, and you're hoping that he is the future of this team. With that being said, bring an offensive minded guy, whether it be Clint Kubiak, I think is the number 1 priority on the Raiders list of coaches. I think Clint Kubiak is the guy that they really want in this cycle. But if that fails, I think then they shift gears, in the dream scenario for the Raiders would be get a high-end defensive coordinator as your head coach. Maybe that's Robert Saleh, maybe that's Chris Shula, you
Mhm.
know, and then pair him up with an offensive-minded guy who you can label as the assistant head coach. Maybe it's Mike
Yeah.
McDaniels,
Yeah.
maybe it's a different guy, maybe it's Mike McCarthy. Who knows? Maybe
Yeah.
he's willing to just take a coordinator job.
Mhm.
Um, but again, a lot of moving parts. And even though the Raiders this season was an absolute disaster, there are little pieces of that roster, along with that brand new facility and the money, that kind of make in this number 1 overall pick kind of makes it alluring a little bit to some of these coaches. That's why you have Clint Kubiak interested. John Harbaugh has been rumored anyway as being partially interested in Vegas as well. Um, so I think with that whole mindset, I think they want Clint Kubiak, number 1, but if it doesn't work out, then I think they switch gears. I don't think they're gonna go Mike LaFleur. I know they've interviewed him too.
Yeah.
Um, but man, it's tough. Like, that's a risk to bring on a inexperienced, not even a coordinator, but he doesn't call
Yeah.
plays, so you're
Yeah.
gonna put him at head coach. Um, yeah, I think in the end, I think that's what it's gonna be. It's gonna be battling between those 2 offensive, defensive-minded guys who's available.
Yeah, I think it's got to be towards offensive side too, because I think defensively, even though you like you said, you've got issues there and things what you've done, but you still have Max Crosby, and that team has been able to keep some of these other teams, especially the ones that in your division, at bay and been close. And that's one thing you can kind of do. When I talk about teams that have to try and rebuild or do what they're doing, they build their team to beat the teams within their division. And I think that's
Mhm.
what they kind of lay out the baseline. What can we do now to beat the Chiefs to where look that like they're kind of, swaying a little bit. You've got Denver with that great defense here, and then you have the Chargers who have a pretty good defense too, just a lot of injuries on offense, but maybe now um with the Chargers, they're going to be looking for a new offensive coordinator, and potentially if Jesse Minter goes, they're looking at both. So you have an opportunity to say, hey, well, maybe we just build a good defense or get a defensive minded coach, and you do get, say, Mike McDaniels, your offensive coordinator. He goes and takes a coordinator job. Again,
Mhm.
San Francisco 49ers ties. That could potentially be an issue, a thing there too, and
Yep.
kind of get a reset for him, a reset for Salah, and that would be good. And maybe trying to help one of your quarterbacks or whoever it might be moving
And that's the
forward.
thing, is that like some of these other teams, if they go defensive when they really should be going offensive, they have
They
to get
have to
a
get
really good
yes.
OC. They have to, because you
Mhm.
need the offensive coordinator now is basically the head coach of offense.
Mhm.
Like, it's gonna be all theirs. It's gonna be on their plate. They have to make everything work. So, defensive coordinator as head coach gonna concentrate on defense. You need that all OC to handle his side of the ball.
Yep.
All right, so moving on after the Vegas Raiders, now we're going into the Miami Dolphins
Mhm.
of things. We talked about Mike McDaniels a little bit about maybe he's going to not necessarily be a head coach, but again, maybe some of these teams, maybe Cleveland Browns can entice him to be a head coach. Who knows? But we kind of anticipate him being an OC at least for this upcoming season. But the Miami Dolphins, again, you're seeing a trend here with some of these jobs. No real answer at quarterback. It sounds like the Miami Dolphins are gonna move on from Tua, and he'll be available as a free agent. That's what it sounds like right now. If that's the case, again, you got a Dolphins team that has talented players on there, but no quarterback. The offensive line has been heavily injured. It seems like the last couple of years they can't stay healthy. Defense has been lacking. That sometimes they have these breakout games where they shut down offenses when they shouldn't. But it seems like again, you need to add more talent on the defense. Offensively is where you're struggling a little bit more on. So again, it seems like the Miami Dolphins should be looking at an offensive minded coach. However, the playing field is a short list. So I mean, who would take this Dolphins job? I know that the Miami Dolphins are very interested in John Harbaugh. That's probably their number one candidate right now. And Mr. Ross, the owner down there, I know he has an affinity for Harbaugh, so he's going to do everything it takes to maybe get him to be their new head coach. That's the focus for them. But if that fails, what are you going to do? Like you're going to need whoever you decide to bring in at quarterback. I don't think it's going to be the draft. It's a very extremely short list of quarterback talent, and there's not really anything worth taking in the first round at all. So
Mhm.
unless you're picking number one, there's nothing there. So Miami Dolphins are probably going to most likely look at a veteran quarterback to come in here. Who's that going to be? Is it a Kirk Cousins? Is it a Kyler Murray? Is it the kid from Green Bay? I'm drawing a blank here. He started for the Packers, a few games.
Mhm.
Maybe it's him. Maybe he's going to get his opportunity in Miami. So
Oh, Malik Willis.
Malik
Yeah,
Willis, yeah.
yeah.
So like this is a team that has again, they're a team that is by no means ready to turn it around and compete for a Super Bowl. They're going to need a lot of work. Who can you who can you entice to go there?
Mm.
You look at the history of the Miami Dolphins too, and their head
Mhm.
coaching like firings and weird um owners stories and like the racism case that was going on there, and it's like, do you really want to be a part of that? You know,
Yeah.
uh, I think that I think they might switch roles and go defensive. I think if Harbaugh
Yeah.
doesn't work out, that Even though it would
Yeah.
be smarter to go offensive minded because you don't whoever you're gonna bring in, you need them to help them. But man,
Yeah.
I think they go defensive. I think you look at a guy like maybe Jeff Halfley from
Yeah.
the Packers DC. I think you could look at not Brian Flores, never mind. Jesse Minter could be another
Mhm.
interesting option
Mhm.
for the Miami
Yeah.
Dolphins.
Yeah.
Um, but all in all, like, maybe it's Chris Shula. So I think that any one of these and there's no short list on defensive minded guys. So that's where it's a
Yeah.
little easier to find a candidate to come in and do
Right, and
that.
that's a lot of the interviews they're bringing in. You bring up the Packers. They just hired for general manager, Green Bay Packers vice president of player personnel, Jean
Yep.
Eric Sullivan too. So there's a tie there. Does he kind
Mhm,
of pick from that same pool?
mhm.
He knows that. So it'd
Right.
be interesting to where they go. But it looks like it is by interviews more defensive side of the ball. I would say if they did choose offense, then it would probably be Kevin Stefanski or
Mhm.
something that I think still might fit their offense and have success in Arthur Smith with what they have and who they have in talent. But it looks like but it will be potentially defensive side. And I even like the Kelvin Shepard interview. I thought he made that Lions defense look really good at times too this year. I mean, they're on fire and it seemed like they were ready to play for him. So it's interesting to see that they bring him in for an interview as
Yeah,
well.
I think that's more of a minority thing.
Oh man.
And that's the thing is sometimes you got to look at these interviews and are they legitimate? Like
Mm.
like I understand, like the defense played pretty solid for the most part this season for Detroit, but I don't think it's worthy of like say, oh well, he had one season as a coordinator. Let's bring him in
No,
as a head
no, no,
coach.
I hear you there. That's
Um,
why I think that Jim Schwartz not being named around a lot of these teams now is kind of weird.
Got to remember too, Jim Schwartz might have left a sour taste in some teams' mouths last time. I know it was a while ago, but the last time he was the
Mhm.
head coach, he never really had an
Yeah,
answer for anything
yeah.
or a plan for that
Mhm,
matter. So
mhm,
maybe that's what it is.
mhm.
But again, like for the Miami Dolphins, maybe it's a guy by the name of Matt Burke.
Yeah,
Matt Burke is the D coordinator
yeah,
for the Texans,
yeah,
and I'm
mhm,
surprised that his name isn't being
yeah,
circulated around yet. Maybe that's because they're still in the playoffs.
yeah.
That could be possible too, but keep an eye out for him as well. So,
Alright.
yeah, and then we're on to your boys, the New York Giants. Giants, I mean, let's be honest, it's John Harbaugh. That's the guy that the Giants want, and they've had their interview with him and we'll see where it goes. Like
Yeah.
maybe he's locked up in the basement right now until he signs a deal. You never know.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's true. He does have the other interviews, lined up, but, he still needs to be able to get on that plane and make it to Atlanta. So
nope, the Giants are keeping him locked in
that's
there,
what
and
I'm
he's
saying.
not getting out until he
Yeah,
signs.
yeah, we hope
Um,
not, so,
but
uh,
anyways, like Harbaugh to
yeah,
me is the number one candidate, obviously. But then if that does in fact fall through, um, why not Clint Kubiak?
yeah,
Why not another offensive minded guy that can work with a young quarterback like Jackson Dart with this young team? Um, for the most part, and continue to get better. I feel like that's another big time option if you want to go offensive. Um,
yeah, for me, though, too, I mean, I think the list is short for offensive,
it is.
uh
We we said that.
right,
Yeah.
but yeah, but I mean, for even for a Giants, like, I don't think if it's not Harbaugh, I don't think you go up and coming offensive coordinator or even Kevin Stefanski. I would say if you did go on the offensive side, it's got to be Mike McCarthy because I think you need to have structure, discipline, and all that stuff. And that's packaged with Mike McCarthy and it's packaged with John Harbaugh. On the other side, I would say you would probably go defensive side. You've got a really good defense, strong defense now. Get those guys behind you with a good defensive coordinator and then build from that. Then you can hire your guy like we were talking about. If you can get some of these failed head coaches to go back to be an offensive coordinator,
Hmm.
maybe Bill Callahan, as an offensive coordinator again. Maybe you're
Hmm.
Mike McDaniel as a
Right.
coordinator. Kind of fit
Right.
that in. Then now that team kind of looks really sexy now, right? You're like, say all of a
Hmm.
sudden you get we'll say that same pair before. Say we get Salah back in New York, but he's coaching the Giants, and now you have Mike McDaniel as your offensive coordinator with Jackson Dart in the backfield, doing what you could do with him and Scadaboo and Chiron
Yeah.
Tracy. I mean,
The only the only issue that I have with Mike McDaniel and with the Giants is that
He's
he
gotta
will
change his
not
outfits.
stop. He will not stop letting Dart run,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it might end his career sooner than you want. So maybe that might be the not the best
Yeah.
pairing there
Yep.
for them.
Yep.
But Mike McCarthy would make a lot of sense.
Mhm. Mhm.
Like, you know,
Mhm. Mhm. All right.
so
So, yeah, there
and
you go.
then
So well, you got some more? You got
one
one
more.
more. One
We
more.
got the Tennessee Titans,
Oh,
but
yeah, that's right. Remember
Tennessee
the
Titans
Titans. Mm.
Remember the Titans, exactly. Great movie. If you haven't watched it, you better watch it. Great
I
football
haven't.
movie.
No. Yep.
Um Anyway, so Tennessee Titans, Cam Ward is there. He's going to be going into his second year. So that's what makes this job a little appealing, is because the Tennessee Titans, say what you want about them, but the defense is pretty solid. They got some nice young talent on that side of the ball. Defense or offensively, the offensive line needs to be upgraded. It is what it is. Like, it's not a major overhaul or anything like that, but they definitely need some upgrades. And then receivers, they don't have any go-to receivers. They basically played with most of the season 2 rookies that ended up getting beaten up by the end of the season and, missed some time, and then Chigaquanquo, who was the kind of go-to tight end for them, was having a really good year, then he got hurt and missed some time, so this is a team that has some talent on it. It needs direction, and I feel like this is a Tennessee team that might go with, when it's all said and done, maybe Kevin Stefanski in this one. I think this is a excellent second chance for Kevin Stefanski to go and work with a young quarterback with a younger team, and maybe he can build around them enough to, uh, take that step forward that Tennessee's looking for.
Yeah, I mean this one's a head scratcher too, because like who feels comfortable in moving forward with this team, and what they can do. Are they
Mhm.
behind? They've got to say, all right, I think I can take Cam Ward and I can make him be better. I
Right.
can do this. We've even seen now they're interested in requested for interviews with Brian Dable. How about getting Brian Dable
Mhm.
back over there, working with Cam Ward and trying to improve him? We've seen him before with,
Yep.
Josh Allen. Before he was trying the whole time with the Giants, trying to get it done with Daniel Jones, not his guy still,
Mhm.
and didn't work out so much. But once he started to, and he had Jackson Dart, he was excited. But by that time, it's a little too late. So you could see him kind of get his career rehashed here. And I think if you grab a good defensive coordinator on top of it, that defense can be pretty good too on top of it. So,
Yeah. Do we think that Jonathan Gannon, he's
I
had
think
one,
he's gonna
he's had
find a
one,
couple spots.
he's had one interview for a head coaching job. But do you think that, and I feel like this happens a lot, like, we're gonna see it with, I feel like we're gonna see it with Mike McDaniel. I don't think he's getting
Mhm.
a head coaching job. We're gonna see it with
Right.
Jonathan Gannon. Like, when they
Yeah.
recently get fired as a head coach, and it seems like they typically, all these coaches typically go back to being coordinators at least for 1 year until the next head coaching cycle. You know what I mean? Because as long as they do well as a coordinator, then, they'll be sought after the following year. So it's like Jonathan Gannon to me is an interesting guy that if you need a defense, Jonathan Gannon, and hasn't really been taking that many visits at all. Bring him in as your defensive coordinator if that's what you're looking for.
Right.
I mean, the guy
Yeah, I feel
can
like
call a
that too.
defense.
If we see some of these defensive coordinators get handpicked for head coaching jobs,
Mhm.
then I think you'll see him interview a bit more with other people, or he'll be more, um, you know, kind of sought after, I guess. Um, so I think that's why maybe right now he's, a lot of people are looking for that head coach situation right now. So I mean, they'll bring him in, but um, I think that's where he fits best too, kind of rejuvenate his career here, get
I
back to it.
gotta I gotta say, like, this head coaching circus that is this season, nobody had not one domino has fallen yet. And I
Yeah,
understand it's still um relatively young in its age. Nobody's made the decision, nobody's offered a deal because everyone's doing their due diligence. Well, man, I'm so curious to know, like, what the domino is. Like,
yeah,
who signs first? Is it Harbaugh? And it sounds like, from Harbaugh's camp anyway, it sounds like they've narrowed it down to a few teams. It's not all 8 or anything
right.
like that. It
Hmm.
seems like he's narrowed it down to maybe 4 or 5 teams that he's really interested in going and listening to what they have to say and going through the interview process. Um, but it'll be curious to know that Harbaugh doesn't want to waste time.
Mhm.
And once he makes a decision, I feel like he'll make that first signing. It's official. He's the head coach of whoever. Um, that's when you're going to start to see other teams, I feel like, go and get their guys and lock them in. So we'll see what happens. Well, maybe it's not hardball. Who knows? But it'll be interesting to see how that unfolds.
Yeah, and per Adam Schefter, I mean, there's potentially one more coach that could be available, and
Yeah.
everybody's looking up there at Buffalo and what happens there. And if Sean McDermott might be the guy, whether he gets fired or he might just say, I'm reading the tea leaves, I'm just going to step away and go somewhere else. That would kind of bring this whole coaching carousel into another kind of halt and kind of like, hold on, wait a minute. This job's open now for one. And McDermott, like, do the Giants now, if they don't get Harbaugh or they're not sure, they're obviously going to bring in Sean McDermott because the ties with Joe Shane, too, on top of it. You would think that it would be
Maybe.
McDermott would probably at least get an interview. I'm telling you, who would get an interview there. So that could move him into the mix. And does that open things up for Joe Brady now to take over for McDermott if he just gets elevated? Or what happens with that? Then it's just open, and then who's looking for who? And then what's the better job? So that's why I feel like, yes, we've gone like a week and a half. It's going to make it through the weekend. Again, unless it is a team that feels like they're out of the sweepstakes for anybody like that. Like we've said Cleveland, you've said, the Titans, Cardinals, on top of it. Those might fall first, the first dominoes to go, and then we will see later on. But how interesting would that be with Buffalo not making it if they don't, and it's like McDermott, because I couldn't see any of the other coaches going out of who's left over in the playoffs.
But that's the thing is like for Sean McDermott, that might be something that Joe Shane wants to stay away from. Is I don't think it'll even be allowed to interview Sean McDermott.
No more Buffalo guys.
Again, right. Because you went to Buffalo before, you got Brian Daboll and Joe Shane, and it fell apart.
Yeah.
So they might kind of
Devin
stay away
Singletary.
From for
Yeah,
sure.
Yep.
But yeah, like again, it's one of those things where like everybody's waiting for everybody else to make a move.
Yeah.
And I understand it's still new, but it's also interesting to see how everything is kind of starting to line up. We're starting to see what each team is focusing on, whether it be defensive, offensive, and then whatever side you're on, what kind of coach they're going for. So
Yeah.
it's definitely an intriguing thing, and we're going to keep monitoring it as it goes. But Jim, we are on our way to the divisional round now for the playoffs. A lot of surprises, and then a lot of, I would say, like there was a couple of games in round one where it was just boring. It was just boring to watch a couple of those games. So
the Steelers game and the Patriots Chargers game were fairly boring.
Yeah.
Just because Steelers and Texans, like Steelers had every opportunity to cash in on the dumbass turnovers by CJ Stroud. I'm like, wanted to pull my hair out watching what he's doing. I'm like, dude, because after you see the first one, he's kind of like, oh man, I can't believe I did that. Then the second one, then a third one. And I'm like, dude, bro, just hang on to the ball, just tuck and duck and just take a sack for once at least, or whatever. Try and take off running. You had some of those plays, you had a lane to run, and he just decided to kind of get off his feet and kind of try and throw it and create turnovers. He cannot do that moving forward in his next coming matchups here. And like besides that one, the Patriots and Chargers, you knew that was kind of be a low scoring the way they kind of roll, especially the Chargers. Hence why, there's no more Todd Monken there, and they need to do something to elevate Justin Herbert and get that team going, not just be that run first type of team. But the Bills and Jaguars did not disappoint. I thought that one was nice because it was a gunslinging fight, back and forth, like two prize fighters going here too. I was pulling for the Jags, but I'm upset that the Bills win either. I just hope they can go further in what they're doing. And as far as, the Panthers and Rams, that could have gone either way for me. I know we picked the Rams, but if the Panthers won, I mean, that would have been pretty exciting to see. That was
I'm
definitely
not gonna
the
lie.
underdog out of it all.
Not gonna lie, I was rooting for the Panthers towards the end of that game. I'm like,
Mhm.
"Come on, Panthers, let's
They
go,
almost did it.
upset,
They almost
upset."
did it. Mhm.
Uh, yeah, that defense is real stingy. We
Yeah.
we tried to tell you guys that Carolina was no slouch on defense, especially, and then Bryce Young just never played his A game, never even come close to that. So was the downfall.
Yep.
Um, yeah, going into this round now with the divisional round, like the first game, you look at Saturday, 4:30 p.m. Eastern, Bills at the Denver Broncos. The Denver Broncos, are we going to see a team that is a little rusty because they've had some extra time off? I understand it's a good thing for teams that make it to the playoffs. If they're able to have that bye week, it's a lot of resting, recuperating, rehab to get ready for the upcoming game. It can be beneficial, but it also could be a problem in getting back into the flow of things and getting the chemistry back. So I wonder if that might be an issue for Bo Nix. Let's just say what it is. Bo Nix is not the most experienced quarterback yet. So, big time spotlight on you. You're the number one seed. You're at home. Don't screw this up. Now you have a great defense to rely on, but it's only going to be there as long as you can put points on the board. So, Bills, this is a team that is coming in on a high note, huge. Like the momentum that they've been able to ride at this point, and I understand it's been a lot on Josh Allen and just him pretty much offensively. The defense has got to step up though. We saw them once again struggle against the run last week. You're playing a Broncos team now that has one of the best offensive lines, and they are going to utilize that against you. If the Bills cannot stop the run or at least slow it down and stop a couple of their drives, feel like this is going to be one of these kind of knockout, drag 'em out type of games where it's not going to be decided until the end, and then it's who has the ball last. Is it is your field goal kicker up to it?
Mhm.
Is your offense and your quarterback, like we all know, Josh Allen is just he's a freak. That's what he is.
Mhm.
He's just an absolutely amazing player on the football field. But Bo Nix, this is kind of uncharted territory for him. Now, what happens when all the pressure's on you? You have to make all the throws to drive down the football field. So
Yeah.
I feel like this is going to be a tough matchup either way. But man, it's tough
Mhm.
to not bet on the Bills on this one. I'm going to be honest.
It's tough. For me, it's like heart over mind sometimes, right? If you look at the Bills, like I feel like my heart says Bills. Josh Allen, he can't be denied what he does on the field, making some plays. It's the local New
Yeah,
York team around here too. Everybody
right.
around here, Bills fans everywhere, and the lack of offensive production for what the Broncos are doing, and
Mhm.
how they're very lateral, not vertical in their offense, just on some deep chunk plays that they get late in the game. Meanwhile, their defense, if you look at the rankings, total defense number 2, sacks number 1, red zone number 1, quarterback pressure number 1,
Mhm.
rushing number 2. So all those rankings, they're just all defense here. They're doing a lot of it. They're creating turnovers. They're stuffing people. I know Nick Benito is going to be in that backfield chasing Josh Allen. Now, what does he do with it? Does he be able to break out of the pocket and make plays like he does? Does he put the Superman cape on one more week and let it go and let it rip? But I feel like they need to be able to effectively run the ball, whether it be him and Cook, to keep it balanced. Because I feel like on this defense, Josh Allen can still make some big plays despite not having the
Mhm.
wide receiving talent that he has. I will say that even though they're very good, in the passing game too as well, they are susceptible to some defensive penalties that could create chunk plays too for the Bills and give them opportunities. And if the offense can't get going for the Broncos, a couple 3 outs here and there, that could be big opportunity for the Buffalo Bills to kind of take advantage. But to play in that stadium, it's going to be loud. It's going to be rocking. It's going to be a difficult environment for Josh Allen to come out of alive.
Yeah, and that's the thing is when you look at both these teams, I wonder. I just I Josh Allen to me is just like unbelievable. Like I don't you can't say enough about the guy and what he's been able to accomplish, and it's going to be all him yet again in order for them to win it or pull this game off and win and beat the number 1 seed.
Yeah.
Um
You
man,
know, for a
I
year, Joe, before you do your pick or whatever you're doing, I feel like for a year that where Josh Allen hasn't blown it up with the stats where he's not even talked about in this MVP type of scenario. It's either Drake May or it's Matthew Stafford, blah blah. If you're looking at honest truth again, who's the most valuable player of the league or even for their team, you can't deny that maybe Josh Allen's got to be in part of this conversation just because of what he does and what he means to the team and how they've advanced because of what he has been able to do.
yeah, the unfortunate part is that's not
It
the
doesn't matter.
stat that they
Yeah.
don't like.
Yeah.
There's no it's not about, and it should be.
Oh,
Part of the award in my opinion is that it should be, it's not always about stats. It has to be like, how important is that one player to your team? Like
mhm.
we were watching history with Jackson Smith and Jibba this season.
Yeah.
The guy all like he was getting close to that all-time record. And then you look at guys like Christian McCaffrey this year, who damn near had 1,000 yards, if not already had 1,000 yards in receiving and rushing. Like pretty impressive,
Yeah.
things that they were doing. And McCaffrey was the offense for the most
Mhm,
part.
mhm,
Like,
mhm.
so it's
He's
like
gonna have to do it this weekend too as well.
Josh Allen
But
is the same
mhm,
thing. Josh
mhm,
Allen is he so much is on him. He has to create something out of nothing sometimes in order for them to have a chance to kick a field goal or go ahead and score.
mhm.
You saw what he did with against the Jaguars. It was
Yep.
all him
Yep, when
and
it
his
comes down to
legs.
it, he's gotta get it
Like,
done. Mhm.
so same thing is gonna be in this scenario, although let's really say what it is. The Jaguars aren't as good of a defense as the Broncos.
Yeah.
And we've seen how low scoring Josh Allen and that offense, was initially in that game. This is going to be a huge hill to climb. As much as I want the Broncos to lose, I think I'm gonna pick Denver in this one.
Yeah. Yeah, I think everything points towards defense. I know it's cliche defense wins championships, but look at the teams, a lot of them that have made it here, it's because they've been able to hold some teams back, especially on third downs, which another stat that the Denver Broncos are also good at. They're ranked
Right.
second with a 33.8% conversion rate against with their opponents. So it doesn't look good for Josh Allen converting on third down either. So it'd be tough environment. I'll be hoping that the Denver Broncos lose as well. I'll be rooting for the Bills, but I'm going to go Broncos on this one. All right. So what do we got here? What's Saturday's other
Next
game?
one, we got the 49ers at the Seattle
Yes.
Seahawks. Saturday, 8 o'clock Eastern kickoff. Uh Man, this is amazing for the playoffs, right? Like you got divisional rivals going up against
Mhm,
each other.
mhm.
Yet again, Seattle beat them the last meeting that they had, securing that number 1 overall seed in the NFC.
Yep.
Expect much of the same. Gonna be honest. So like it's going to be like just two big behemoths going after each other. It's gonna be bloody, it's gonna be messy. Um, and what Brock Purdy are we gonna see?
Yeah.
Like Brock Purdy last game was not looking too good.
No.
Um, and you gotta wonder, like, and I understand every game's different. It
Mhm.
is what it is, but you gotta play your A game on this one. You cannot have any major mistakes. You can't turn the ball over. And that's going for the Niners, and then Seattle Seahawks again, kind of like Denver, where it's good that you get this extra rest, but at the same time, are you going to be up for the game? Are you going to be prepared? Are you going to be ready to go? Um, I hope they are, because if Seattle is, I gotta be honest, like Seattle's going to be tough to knock off on this one. Um, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna bet with the home team. I think I'm gonna go. I think this is where maybe the Niners end their playoff run and um, gonna have to reset for next season. But man, what have they have accomplished is truly amazing with the amount of injuries that they've had to sustain throughout the whole entire season at, and also into the playoffs, and they're still able to make things work. Maybe they can pull it off one last time to get past Seattle, but man, it's gonna be tough. So give me Seattle on this one.
Yeah, it's gonna be a tough one. No more George Kittle again. But when we talk about the injuries that they had, they've also learned to win despite injuries too. So maybe they can kind of power through this. They know this team. We understand again the number one scoring defense in the NFL, and creating turnovers, tied with 6 and 18 with 18 turnovers or takeaways, and third in sacks too with 32. So they can get at the quarterback, they can turn the ball over. And what kind of quarterback is Brock Purdy going to be? Hopefully he learned from the last couple of times and to play it safe here, and they can effectively get it out to Christian McCaffrey. They can't abandon the run. They can't abandon him like they do sometimes, especially towards the end of the game. Keep grinding, keep moving around, get Brian Robinson involved too, kind of mix it up a little bit. And I feel like Sam Darnold, this defense has made it kind of easy for him. He can still make plays. He's still playing well, still getting out to Jackson Smith and Jigba. But I feel like if the 49ers can kind of get some pressure on him still too, and kind of get him rattled just a little bit, and potentially get him to get feel uncomfortable and turn the ball over, that could be a key factor here for them. Here, I want to side with the Seahawks because it is at home. Normally in regular season, I'm just like, this is a given. They're at home.
Right.
Seattle wins.
Yeah.
But I'm really rooting for the 49ers on this one. So I'm going to stick with that one. Why not? I'm going to go with the 49ers on this one.
F the Niners.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So next we got Sunday's games.
So
Texans, Patriots. What do you got, Joe?
Sunday, 3:00 Eastern. We got the Texans and the New England Patriots. Man, I mean, talk about a great AFC matchup. This is the matchup I wanted to see in the playoffs the whole time. I wanted to see the Houston Texans, one of the best defenses in the NFL, against the Patriots, who, say what you want, say they had an easy schedule, but their offense has been clicking all year. This is the matchup I wanted to see. In New England, we'll have to wait and see what the weather is going to be for Sunday. The Texans, maybe it affects them, maybe it doesn't. But again, I think this is going to be one of those matchups that you just have to glue your eyes to the TV and just appreciate what's happening in front of you. I think this is going to be a great game. I think it will be a lot of back and forth. You know, Patriots were going to make plays. The Texans are going to make plays, offense and defensively. But when it's all said and done, we're going to see who may the best team win. I think it's going to be that close. I honestly do. I don't think it's going to be a substantial lead by either team or anything like that. But when it's all said and done, this is a tough pick for me. I want to pick the Patriots almost just because they're home, but I think I'm going to go with the Texans because I've kind of been I jumped on their bandwagon before the season even started, and even though it looked like it was going to be a train wreck early on, they managed to regroup and get back together and get this thing moving in the right direction. I'm gonna go with Houston in this one.
Yeah, it's funny how this season has had many different looks about it or different faces. We saw the Colts jump out early, lead that division. The Texans look terrible. First off the bat, the Lions look terrible. All these name favorites that we were looking at, we're like, Texans is going to take the division. Colts are going to get a little better, this and that, doing our breakdowns early on before the season started.
Yeah.
And none of that really panned out in the beginning part. But now you're seeing the Texans on a winning streak. The defense is top ranked on top of it, getting pressures, getting turnovers on top of everything. Stopping
their
the run.
secondary is ridiculous.
So, it is ridiculous now. And now they're kind of forming the team that we kind of thought they were, but it kind of seems like it just seems weird. Everything's kind of off with some of these teams here that have made it to the playoffs. So the fact that I'm not as sold in as I was when I was originally starting the season is kind of weird. You know what I mean? Because I'm still like, I don't know. Because I think just of the inefficiency at quarterback and what Stroud's kind of been up and down, especially with that last game. He definitely needs to learn from his mistakes from last week because I think the Patriots and Vrabel, what they're doing, will not let him get away with things like that. So he needs to tighten it up. I think both teams are going to try to run the ball effectively here, and it's going to be a low-scoring defensive type of thing. And I think I might go with Texans too, just because of that defense. Patriots, it's a good story. I think they did well. They overachieved. So even if they lose here, kudos. It's nothing against Vrabel and all those guys, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, dude, you guys did great. You know what I mean? He's still a coach of the year candidate.
Yeah, and when you look at this defense, we talk about how good the Texans are. Let's not get it twisted here. The Patriots also have
Oh
a
yeah, yeah.
really good defense,
Hmm.
but man, how much they've improved after playing together last season. You look at the secondary as a whole. Kalen Bullock,
Yep.
Jalen Petrie, Kamari Lassiter, and
Yep.
and then you have the man, the myth, the legend that is Derek Stingley Jr., who
Yeah.
is the best corner in football.
Hmm.
Say I'm wrong because
Hmm.
you can't. Derek Stingley's ridiculous. So this secondary as a whole, they only give up a 30% of catches are allowed and that's all of them put
Yeah.
together. That is crazy. And I feel like it's when they start to pin their ears back and they start playing man, it just squeezes all those windows for quarterbacks. And
Hmm.
they've done such a great job up to this point. You know they're going to come ready. You know the Patriots are going to come ready. This is the reason why I wanted to see this matchup. I wanted to see
Yep.
the Texans defense against the Patriots offense because both teams are super well coached. It's not like one or the other is going to be out coached. It's not like the players on the football field are too overbearing or not. Like this is probably the most evenly split game out of all every facet of the game. I think that we're going to see this playoffs.
Hmm. All right, next we'll move on to the Rams and the Bears.
Why
We got
can't the
Joe.
Bears just lose?
Yeah.
That's, I mean, not for nothing, but like, listen, we've talked about player awards all season. We've talked about coaches awards. Who's going to get the coach of the year? Ben Johnson is. It's just amazing what this guy's done. It's amazing what Vrabel's done with the Patriots. I mean, I honestly, you could give the award to like three different coaches and it
Hmm.
would be okay.
Hmm.
But again, this is a matchup right now with the Rams kind of stumbling. They barely edged out the Panthers to move on. The last regular season game, they didn't look like they were killing it offensively. The defense looks a little lackluster, gonna be honest.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like this impactful defense that we saw early in the year. Like, I wonder if that's gonna change in this matchup. Maybe it was different last week, but Bears team that is ascending, a Bears team that's young, hungry, and they're home yet again. I mean, they've earned it. Uh Man, what a brutal matchup. I gotta say, like Caleb Williams, you say what you want. Like, listen, I've been a naysayer since he got drafted. I didn't think this guy was going to be a good starting quarterback. Yes, he still has his issues for sure.
Hmm.
But Ben Johnson has definitely coached him up and made him a better quarterback this season.
Hmm.
Bears defense, still a really good defense. I mean, this is going to be a good matchup all around. The Rams, they don't give me a lot of confidence. They really don't. I mean, the way they've played up to this point, Puka Nacua has been exceptional, but Stafford has kind of been not the typical Matt Stafford that we know and love. So, is this the game that the Rams are going to shake off the cobwebs and they're going to come out firing and they're going to be the Rams team we envisioned? A lot of people thought this Rams team was going to be the number one contender, the number one seed even by the end of it, and they faltered towards the end of the season. So again, things don't look great for the Rams. My heart wants the Rams to win in the worst way, but if I'm being honest, the Rams do not look like themselves to the point where like it's really kind of forcing me to pick the Bears and how well they've been able to not necessarily take over games at all, but their come from behind wins is like exceptional. Their rate of how they're able to do that so successfully, it leaves me more confidence with Chicago, to be honest. So I guess I'm going to take the Bears in this one, but I do want the Rams to win.
Yeah, it is funny how the Bears have made it this far for me
Yeah.
because again, the Caleb Williams, he has played better at times again, but they haven't been spectacular.
Mhm.
Defense has been okay, like pretty good, but they just mainly turn the ball over. They get takeaways. Besides that, they give up a
Key.
lot of yardage and teams can throw on him, which I think Matthew Stafford can do that. We have better talent all around too, offensively. If you're the Rams, then you just need the defense to kind of hold off and kind of learn from what the Packers kind of did last week too, and try to contain the Caleb Williams and this offense and stop the run. Then you can do whatever you want. Just will they? And now I've talked about it multiple times about Matthew Stafford in the weather, and now I even have true stats to back it up here via Twitter. Dove Kleiman ended up posting this, which I was happy to see, that Matthew Stafford outside in the last 10 games outdoors in the rain or snow or cold weather, a 1-9 record, 16 touchdowns, 11 touchdowns. The current forecast for this Sunday is 20 degrees, 18-mile-per-hour winds, 55% chance of snow. What Matthew Stafford will we get? If we get those, then it looks really good for the Chicago Bears. But if we don't, I think Matthew Stafford can power through this time. This is a team he should be able to beat. And I'm hoping for him, and I think that they can. They have enough weapons. They have the coach. They have the quarterback. Everything is better on the Rams side of the ball. Just get their head out of your ass and just get this damn win. You can't have the Bears advance and go into the championship round. That is blasphemous. So I'm rooting for the Rams. I'm picking the Rams. And hopefully then Ben Johnson, the D-bag that he is, can just go back and we'll see him next year.
You're not picking the Rams because you hate Ben Johnson, are you?
No. I picked the Broncos, and I really don't like Sean Payton too. I think he's a D-bag. He's a flat-out D-bag.
That's because he actually is.
Whatever.
We know that for a fact that Sean Payton is like that.
We know that he is. Yeah. Ben Johnson hasn't gone to that fact yet.
No. It's only confirmed by Jim at this point.
Yes. Yes. I'm that's my hot take. I'm on it early.
He's on it before anybody else got to it.
That's right. Wait, you wait another year or two, and then everybody's like, "Oh man, locker room's sick of him," and blah blah this and this, and they're like, I freaking told you guys.
It's happened before, but I feel like those players absolutely love Ben Johnson. They really do. I've seen the reactions in the locker room. I've seen like his speeches.
Yep. No.
So I mean, I honestly but even though we've seen it with other guys, look at Josh McDaniels. Look at his time in Denver. Players hated him. Even in Vegas, players hated him. Like it's happened before where kind of big ego type coaches get their shot, and then they end up coming off the wrong way with the players, which you can't do. You got to have a relationship. And that's the other real quick. There's another coach that is in this cycle that is similar to that I've heard, and now it's all just hearsay. I don't know how true it is, but I've heard Brian Flores' name as being that kind of guy where he doesn't have a good relationship with his players. They don't really like him. They don't like what he stands for or whatnot. So we'll see how that all kind of works itself out. But thank everybody for the comments. Thanks everybody for tuning in. If you're new to the show, we want you to encourage you guys. Please head over to our YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button for us. You can even scan the QR code down there. Makes it a little bit simpler. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up too. Share and spread the love. Tell everybody. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Let's get this party going. We'll see you guys in the next one.
Absolutely. Enjoy the games this weekend, and we're going to talk about it all next week. We're super excited. Thanks a lot, and we'll see you next time.